They aren't at the store for very long. As soon as the police officers see the video, they handcuff Hillary's hand and arrest her. "Do you really need to do that?" Cameron says. "Please move back," the officer says to her. They take Hillary out to the street. Cameron follows behind them. "It's okay, Cammy," Hillary says. "Go home." "Where are you taking her?" asks Cameron. "The station on 5th and Cherry," the officer replies. They take her to a waiting police car. Cameron runs after them. "Hillary," Cameron says, as they put her in the car. "What do I do?" Hillary doesn't reply. Cameron hurries to the police station, thinking, does she call Hillary's mother and father? She guesses the police will let Hillary call them, but maybe they'll make her wait a long time first. Cameron doesn't want to be the one to tell Hillary's mother or father that the police arrested their daughter for shoplifting, but they're going to find out anyway. She takes out her phone and calls Hillary's home number. After a few moments, a voice says, "This is Tom Johnson." Mr. Johnson," Cameron says. "I'm Cameron Bailey, Hillary's friend from college." "What can I do for you, Miss Bailey?" Mr. Johnson says. Hillary's father speaks very slowly, as if he wants you to listen very carefully. "Mr. Johnson, I'm very sorry to be calling you, but I've just left Hillary in town and I'm really sorry to tell you this, but Hillary was arrested for stealing things from Linden's, the department store. Mr. Johnson, can you hear me?" "I can hear you very well," Mr. Johnson says. "And the police took her where? The central station?" "That's right," Cameron says. "Thank you," Mr. Johnson says, putting down the phone. Well, that was strange, Cameron thinks. She's almost at the police station now, and she thinks about what to do. Maybe you need to go home, she thinks. Just go home and stay out of it. Instead, she goes inside. It's not what she thought. It's more like a hotel than a police station. Hillary's not around, and Cameron guesses she's in one of the back rooms somewhere. She joins a line of people waiting to talk to a police officer sitting behind a window. After a while, Cameron gets to speak to him, but he just tells her to wait. So she waits. Everybody in the room is sitting quietly, reading or looking around. She wonders why they are here. Now and again, the police bring in someone, but nobody's shouting or getting angry. At one moment, a big grey-haired man in a business suit comes in, and Cameron wonders if it's Hillary's father. She thinks about speaking to him, but before she can, they take him inside to one of the rooms in the back. An hour goes by. Cameron tries Hillary's phone every 20 minutes or so, but there's no answer. Just when she's starting to think they're keeping her in all night, Hillary comes out of one of the rooms in the back with the businessman holding her arm, a cold look on his face. Cameron gets up. "Hillary," she says. "Hi," Hillary says. "When did you get here?" "I was worried about you," Cameron says. "What's happening?" Before Hillary can reply, the tall man says, "Get in the car, Hillary." "The store wants to take me to court," Hillary says. "I have to go in a couple of weeks. The police say I did it more than once. I could even go to jail." Mr. Johnson's car is big and European, and nobody says anything as they get into it. Cameron wants to ask what happened, but she doesn't want to be the first to speak, and she can tell Hillary's father is very angry. Hillary's eyes are dark from crying. Cameron wants to say something that'll make her feel better, but she doesn't know what that is. It takes about half an hour to get to Cameron's place, but they're nearly there and still nobody's speaking. Maybe I should just get a bus, Cameron's thinking. But just as she's about to tell Mr. Johnson, He doesn't need to drive her home. Hillary says, "I'm sorry, Daddy." Mr. Johnson doesn't reply. "Daddy, I said I'm sorry. Just tell me why," her father says. "Why did you do it?" "I don't know," Hillary says. "You don't know," he replies. "You don't know. You've brought this on everyone in this family, and when I ask you why, you say you don't know." "Dad, please don't make this worse," Hillary says. "Make it worse? Do you know what you've done? This is going to follow you around all your life. They have videos of you stealing from the store a number of times. What do you care? What do I care? Of course I care. You're my daughter, and it's not just you. People will talk. Can you imagine what it's going to be like for me? What about Eric? What about when his school friends find out? Do you think the mothers and fathers will want their sons or daughters to be friends with a boy whose sister steals? And the newspapers. Oh, the newspapers will have a great time with this." "Stop it, Dad," Hillary says. "Don't bring Eric into this. You know how people are. And what about your mother? What do you think she would say if she were still with us?" "Stop it," Hillary says, her voice breaking now. "It's nothing to do with Mum." "Yeah, stop it," Cameron's thinking. "Can't you see she's upset?" "She would think badly of you, Hillary," Hillary's father says. Cameron thinks she's never heard such a cold voice. Hillary starts to cry, and Cameron thinks, "I think I understand, Hillary. I think I know why you're doing it. I'm just sorry I didn't know before." "Stop it," Hillary shouts, crying now. "Don't say that." Cameron puts a hand on her shoulder. "Yeah, stop it," Cameron says. "You don't need to talk to her like that." "Young lady," Mr. Johnson says, "this has nothing to do with you, so please be quiet. We'll continue this at home, Hillary." "Cameron, I believe this is your apartment. Can I stay with you, Cammy?" Hillary says. "Did you not just hear what I said?" her father says. "Sure you can," Cameron replies. She gets out of the car. Hillary looks at her and mouths the words, "Thank you." Mr. Johnson reaches over Hillary and pushes open the door on her side of the car. "Go on then, you two. Get out," he says. "You're a big girl. You can do what you want." "I'm sorry, Daddy," Hillary says, getting out of the car and closing the door behind her. Mr. Johnson looks at Hillary. His face is different, Cameron thinks. Not cold anymore, just sad. He seems like a very unhappy man, Cameron thinks. It's just for a moment, and it's as if he's about to say something. Then he changes his mind. The big car pulls away. The cold air feels good on Cameron's face. They go inside and sit on Cameron's bed. "He never used to be like that," Hillary says. "But when I was young, he was always laughing. But when Mum died, he really changed." "When was this?" Cameron asks her. "It is okay for me to ask?" "Of course it is. It was 3 years ago, in September. September 21st, it was. She was sick for years. But we were all really strong together, and I thought we'd be okay. But everything changed. It was Dad, mostly. After that, he just worked all the time. We almost never saw him. We never talked about Mum. We never talked about anything. That was why I got upset today. It was the first time he talked about her in ages. That's why you were doing it, isn't it? Because of your Mum. I used to think it was about Mum," Hillary says. "But now I think it's just as much about Dad. I miss him too. He's so cold now. It's like he doesn't even see me some of the time. I just wanted him to talk to me. I guess he's talking to me now, huh?" "Why didn't you say something?" Cameron says. "Maybe not to me, but someone. You know, talking to someone can really help." "I didn't want anybody to know," Hillary says. I thought if anybody knows what I'm really like, they won't want to be friends with me. It's not like that at all, Cameron says. Hillary looks so tired. Sleep, Cameron says. Is that okay? Hillary says. Sure, you can have my bed. I'll sleep in the other room. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure, Cameron says. Hillary puts her head down and closes her eyes, but only for a moment. Do you think it'll be okay? She says, in a voice that sounds like a child's. The first thing tomorrow, go and talk to your dad. Tell him what you just told me. Do you think you can do that? Hillary thought about it for a while. I guess so, Hillary says. Then I think it'll be okay. It won't be easy, but you'll get through it. I know you will. Hillary smiles then. You're such a good friend, Cammy, she says. When I go to court, I really hope you can come with me. Don't think about that now, Cameron says. Hillary closes her eyes. Cameron stays with her a moment, watching her friend, thinking how small she looks, lying there like that. She watches a moment more, then goes through to the other room, makes a bed on the sofa, and lies down for a bit. For a while, she just lies there, looking up at the ceiling, her eyes open.